Good afternoon, and welcome back to Let's Talk Destiny Talk Show. I'm your host, Jamie Green. Would like to remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is A Mother's Cry, Let's Talk Destiny. There is some amazing content there. We've been doing this for 2 years now, so there's a lot of content there that will bless your life. Today, I'm really, always say I'm excited when I do a show, but today I am like thrilled to have my youngest prince with me, Tre Morris. I literally have been trying to get him on the show for months, but he's a world traveler and all that. You know how that goes. But seriously, I'm thrilled to have Tre here with us today. Many of you know him. If you don't know him, you know about him because I talk about him a lot um, as my youngest child, but also I'm very proud of him and what he's doing to pursue his dream. As you know, the Let's Talk Destiny talk show is purpose driven. And so I'm always encouraging people to find their purpose and pursue it. And Tre is just doing that. So welcome to the platform, Tre Morris.
Thank you.
We're having a time this morning. Some guests are problematic. But anyway, I'm just glad to have him here with me today. Would like to remind you all to like the video and share it so that other people can be blessed by Tre's story and his testimony. And, I just believe that somebody will get something out of this conversation today that will encourage you to keep pursuing your dream. Okay, so Tre, in the area on the Eastern Shore of Maryland and other places, you are known mainly for your basketball skill. Um, there are some people who like the game of basketball and they might can play the game of basketball, but there are other people who are actual God given natural, they have natural talent to play ball, and you are one of those such people. When did you start playing organized ball? How old were you?
I would say I was probably about 4 or 5 years old when I started at the YMCA around here. Um, and pretty much since the first day I picked up a ball, I was kind of above everybody else in my age group. So just pretty much from there, from like 4 or 5 is when I really started realizing that basketball was something I enjoyed doing.
Yes. And I remember at age 6 was when you started playing at the Salvation Army, and your very first basketball coach was Coach Hearn. And he and I butted heads a lot because I thought as a mom that he was too hard on you and he was expecting too much from a 6-year old. And so I never went out there on the court, acting like a maniac, but I would tell him after the games, I mean, after practices or what have you. And he said something to me one day that changed my whole perspective. He said, Jamie, when you see Tre on the court, you see him as a mother. I'm seeing him from the coach perspective, and I see more in Tre at 6 years old than I've seen in a lot of kids his age. So you have to trust me. I'm not going to hurt him. I'm going to bring out the best in him. And from that point on, I kind of relaxed and I learned what he was saying. So after you joined the Salvation Army um, and you played there for a while, and you also played AAU. What exactly is AAU for those who are listening and don't know what that is?
AAU is just traveling basketball. Depending on the area you're in and stuff like that, it could just take you a lot of different places. When I was staying in Maryland, like AAU, it took me Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, stuff like that. Then we moved to Georgia. I was playing on an AAU team called Team Georgia out there. We ended up in Texas, uh, Louisiana. Like it's just traveling basketball, so you can get more exposure and play against different competition.
And I remember, being the chauffeur to carry you to all these places. I remember just being so proud that number one, you were being exposed to diversity, different type of people, different types of games. But at the same time, you were always recognized for being who you were and playing the game that you played. And I have to admit, as a mother of a basketball player, that down through the years, there were people who would say to me, I want to work with Tre. I even had a guy say to me when we were living in Atlanta, he said, I want to work with your son. I want to break him down and build him all over again. I'm like, first of all, who says that to a parent that you want to break the child? Secondly, he's not a robot for you to break down and build up. So he's fine where he is. But I also want to point out that as you made the comment about when you first started, how people were making notice of the fact that your skill level was sometimes a little bit ahead of others in your age group. Though you didn't recognize it at the time because all you wanted to do was just play ball, period. But uh, there have always been people coming to me saying, I don't, I can't believe he's as young as he is. Some of the things he does, his basketball IQ is way above his age group. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but I remember when we were, I think we were in Atlanta and you were playing in a league, 12-year-old league. And halfway through the game, you were snatching off your jersey, come stomping up to the bleachers. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so immediately my mother bear kicked in, like, who's bothering my child? Whatever, what's going on? And then the manager of the league or the director, whatever his title was, came over and said that some of the parents were complaining. They didn't think you should play because your skill level at 12 was way above their children's skill level of that same age. And you were dominating the game and they didn't think it was fair. So they thought you should be put out. So the manager said, well, basically she paid money for him to be on this team, just like you paid money for your child to be on there. And I'm not going to kick him off because he's better than your child. That doesn't make sense. So at 12, you were still playing in the 12-year-old league, but you also moved up to the 16-year-old and under. And so you've always, that's another reason why I think your game increased and got better, is because you played with older people who forced you to get better. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I actually remember that game. That was probably my best game in my life. I think I had like 36 at halftime. They was not feeling that. But yeah, definitely. And we in the area right now, we're trying to get back to that. We're trying to get the younger kids to play with the adults. So that way, I mean, not only your skill set will be better, your toughness, your IQ and stuff like that. Because nowadays, kids, they play basketball, but they only play during basketball season. So that's where you can tell a lot of the skill set drop off in certain areas because kids don't play basketball no more. So we're trying to get back to that. Like starting this summer, me and a couple of guys around our area, we're trying to either have open gyms where we can invite the high school kids or just regular hoop sessions so we can get back to that.
Absolutely. Now, I want to remind everyone also, if you have any, I need to fix this audience thing. If you have any questions or comments for Tre while we're talking, please feel free to put them in the comment section. Hopefully I'll be able to see them. I do sometimes have issues seeing your comments, but if you have any comments for Tre or questions, feel free to write them in and I will forward those to him. Also, don't forget to please like and share this video and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right, Tre, do you remember at what age or in what season of your life that you realized that basketball was something that you lived for? Like, I know for a fact that there are times you would rather play ball than eat. I would have to force you to come in the house because you wanted to be outside playing ball all the time. But do you remember what that felt like and when that happened?
Yeah. So it happened when I was probably in like I want to say the 5th grade. You have a lot to do with that. You would pick me up from school. You would take me to run and shoot, and you would leave me there until probably like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Then you pick me up, go get some food, go home, get ready for school the next morning. But just doing that, it made me like basketball more because it was a stress reliever, I guess you could say. Like no matter what I was going through in school family wise, whatever it was, I could just go play basketball, forget about it. So I would say probably like the fifth grade is when I realized like, all right, this is something I probably can see myself doing for like the rest of my life. So
And I remember that whole run and shoot thing. And for those of you who are not familiar with it, run and shoot is a gym. I don't know if they still have them because we attended the one in Atlanta, but I don't know about in this area. But it's a gym that literally was open 24 hours a day. And because we were in the Atlanta area, a lot of times you would see professional ball players in there. Sometimes Atlanta Hawk players would be in there doing, playing one-on-one games, pickup games. And there was a street basketball organization. I think it's called And One,
mm-hmm.
and some of their players would be in there as well. And so it got Trey an opportunity to be exposed to those who were much better, who were where he was trying to get to, and it gave him a sense of focus and purpose. Now let's get back to something you just said about basketball being a place of peace and whatever for you. We've had major trauma in our life. A lot of people have, but we're talking about you today. And for example, your senior year of high school, there were several, excuse me, there were several. I have a question for you when I finish this from one of our listeners, our viewers. There were several things that have happened to us, that have caused emotional stress or what have you, where you probably use basketball to help soothe you, calm you. But your senior year was just one for the books. I mean, uh, your grandfather died on your 18th birthday of your senior year. And then your grandmother died 3 months and 3 days after that. Prior to that, as I was saying, there were several colleges that were interested in you, but because of the depression and the natural course of grief that you went through, um, these things change. How did you see basketball as a way to help you deal with that?
So I would say probably like the first week, like once my grandfather passed, I didn't want to do nothing. Like I didn't want to play basketball. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to hang out with friends. I didn't want to do nothing. But then I realized me sitting in the house is something that my grandfather wouldn't want me to do. Like not doing what I want to do, not doing what I enjoy doing. He wouldn't want me to do that. So literally basketball was the only answer I had. It was I ain't gonna say I didn't have friends, but at the time I didn't want friends. Like I didn't want to talk to nobody. All I wanted to do was play basketball, go home. That's all I wanted to do. Like even to this day, like that's literally the only thing that keeps me going is like getting up, finding somewhere to play basketball, um, just having time to myself. Playing basketball, like a lot of people, everybody has their own thing in life that gets them through the day, that's a spark in their day. Basketball is it for me. Whether I'm watching it, playing it, just being around it, it's just comforting to me.
And that's interesting because when I remember during that time when we were dealing with the loss of both parents within 3.5 months of each other, um, and you once you decided you wanted to go back and play basketball, there were people that were saying to me, he should not be playing basketball. You should not allow him to be playing basketball, especially as you started shutting down and it started affecting your grades in school and your attendance in school because you just didn't want to get up and go. But one thing I knew for a fact, if there was anything that was going to keep you wanting to live and keep you wanting to eventually move toward healing, it would be basketball. And so that's why I chose not to just cut you off from that basketball. Um, though, there was it was obvious that the death of your grandparents greatly impacted you emotionally. And I remember the school saying to me, if you can just get him to come to school, we're going to do whatever we can do to make sure he graduates, which is a whole nother topic. We won't even talk about what they did after that. But the point was, everybody has something that keeps them moving. And for you, basketball is it. Of course, we know Baby Akil, now that he has shown up on the scene, he's the, don't shake your head at my grandson. He's another driving force to keep you going. And we have two comments here that I want to share before we move forward. First, Mutima Jackson, one of my girlfriends down in Atlanta, she says, I know basketball requires certain athletic abilities. Yet, what other attributes do you feel make a great player?
Just understanding basketball, because me personally, I've played with a lot of people and I've seen a lot of people play that have zero athletic ability, but they understand the game. They understand what they can do to the game as far as just being a good shooter, a good rebounder, passer, stuff like that. Yeah, so I mean, having athletic ability definitely is a plus, but just being able to understand the game of basketball is a major part of basketball, because you can have all the athletic ability, but if you don't know when to do certain things or how to do certain things, you'll never be able to be at your full athletic potential. So just understanding the game of basketball is probably the other aspect of it.
That's a great question, Mutima, because I also want to talk to Trey, ask you about personalities and stuff like that. Because some people are great athletes, they understand the game, but they are horrible to deal with. And you certainly don't want to play with them because of their personalities. How important is it for people to be able to get along with their team members?
It's very important, because they say winning heals all and it hides all. So you won't really understand what type of people you're dealing with or playing with until you lose. Once you lose, that'll show you what type of person you're dealing with. The pointing fingers, the blame game, the I didn't do nothing wrong, that starts popping out, and that's not the type of player you want to be around. If you win together, you lose together. So just personality, that's it. That's also a major part of basketball as well. Because if you can be as good as you want, but if don't nobody want to play with you, nobody's ever gonna see how good you can be.
And it's interesting because I was thinking as you were saying that, I remember, and I've heard it since you were a child, and I still hear it now as an adult. Some people say Trey has a bad attitude. Trey has a bad attitude on the court. He's very aggressive. He's very, and I say, you know what's interesting to me is, and I've been saying this since you were in your teens, like some of those same people that say you're too aggressive, you're too locked in, um, when you're playing for them on their team, it's called passion. I love Trey's passion. I love how he refuses to lose. I love how he gets his team members involved. I love how he takes over when he feels the need to take over. But if you're playing on the opposite team, or if you're not doing, things exactly like they want you to do it, then they say you have a bad attitude. There is a big difference in being aggressive and committed to winning and just being a nasty person. And I think that that is very important to point out, because I personally am, as a child, you and I have had conversations. Sometimes I would be like, Trey, you need to bring it down a notch because everybody is not as good as you. So you can't just like make those Michael Vick passes to a kid that's not used to catching the ball and then get mad when he don't catch it. These are the conversations we had when you were younger. But I think it's very important that we understand passion for something will sometimes make you go harder than other people um, choose to go because they just don't have that. Your cousin Ike Cannon says, I love this for you both, and I love you both. I guess he's glad that we're having this conversation.
Appreciate you, Ike.
All right. I also want to ask you about we've talked about how basketball provides a safe place for you. mentally and physically and so forth and so on. Now, I know part of your dream or your major dream with regard to basketball has always been to play professionally. Things have happened in your life on your journey that have taken you off course from that. And this is what I really, really wanted us to address today, um, because the topic that we are getting around to is that it is more than a game. It's not just about being on the court. So, after your grandparents died, and then I think a year later, I had my first stroke and my first surgery. You had gotten yourself together in school and I was able to talk you into getting into college. And you went away to college for the first time. While you were in school, you were notified that I'd had my second spinal surgery and that they lost me on the operating table twice. So you made the decision to come back home to be closer to me. Um, So those two things kind of knocked you off course from pursuing your dream and some other things that have happened down through the years. But at this point in your life, you still have not given up on the game of basketball because it's more than just a game to you. Recently, you went to Mexico and for the second time. Um, and you learned some very valuable lessons while you were there, and you saw some things that really inspired you, such as the love that people have for you that don't even know you. Talk to us about the experiences with, especially with the children, um, that were impressed by what they saw and how they wanted to be connected to you.
So this recent trip over to Mexico, it was just an eye opener because a lot of things that we have here we take for granted. Um, like we'll have league games, tournament games, stuff like that, and it's hard to get people to support you. Just I don't know why. Like people, I mean, of course, people have jobs, people have lives, people have things going on, but over there, it was like they put all of that on hold just to show support to, of course, the people that they know that are playing, and they heard that an American team was coming, so of course they want to see the Americans play, stuff like that. But just the kids, man, like after the very first game over there, I had little kids coming up to me asking for my T-shirt off my body, wanting to take endless pictures, just wanted to just to be around. I had a kid sit with me for about 2 hours, just asking me endless questions about basketball, about he was asking me personal questions. Of course, I had to have a translator because I didn't know any Spanish and I didn't know what he was trying to say to me. So I had to have one of my teammates translate it. But it was just an eye-opening experience. The fact that they actually enjoy, support, love, like it was just I just enjoyed it. It was a humbling experience, definitely.
And in that experience, and not just in that experience, but I've told you before, I remember your senior year at Y High when we were walking up to the gym. Um, I think it was a playoff game. I don't know, you know, my memory these days. But we were walking up to the gym. There was a long line of people waiting to get in. And we kept hearing people say, "That's Tre Morris. That's Tre Morris. That's number 14. That's Tre Morris." And then when we got almost to the front, a boy stopped you and asked you for your autograph. That was your senior year of high school. And down through the years, you've had other experiences where children would stop you someplace like in a restaurant or even in the mall. They recognize you from playing basketball at the school. How did that make you feel when these things happen?
So how do I say this? All right, so I wouldn't put any situation above one. So me being home and people recognizing me and wanting to talk to me and like that's I enjoy all that. I love all of that. But it was just something different about these kids that literally have never seen me before in their life. They know nothing about me. But as soon as they just see me step on the basketball court for the first time, it's like they just became instant fans. And like one kid, he actually told me, he said I was his second favorite player after LeBron. Of course, I don't think he really meant that. He was just caught up in the moment. But just hearing that, it just made me feel good. Like that I'm actually doing something to bring joy to other people's lives. And I didn't realize it had that big of an effect to it until literally I was in that moment.
That's something. And it wasn't just about, and also, okay, um, sometimes when people see you, they see something in you that you don't see in yourself. And I guess that's a good thing in a way because it keep you from getting a big head. Um, but you also was telling me about you, I think recently since you've been back home, maybe you from Mexico, you saw someone that recognized you and they were like, didn't you just come back from Mexico? Didn't you? So you sometimes people are watching what you're doing and they're really paying attention to it and you don't realize it. And this is why I constantly encourage you to be your best, put your best foot forward when you leave the home. Sometimes you think I'm just getting on your nerves because I'm mom, but because I know you are a prince and I know what you have to offer. And I want you to hold on to that. Whenever you start feeling down or whatever the case may be, think about those children because they're watching you. There's some children here, even in Salisbury, that have their eyes on you. I know during this last basketball season, there were some kids who were playing that after every game almost, they would text you. How did I do? What did I do? What did I do wrong? Stuff like that because they look up to you. And I want you to remember that. Mutima also says, much esteem to you for being there for your mother. Detours happened, and I believe you're doing awesome with finding your own way now. Very inspiring and expressive traveling to a foreign country.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mutima is a major supporter. Trust me, she'll if she believes in what you're doing, she will let you know that. Um, and I just think it's important that we're having this conversation because I want you to be aware of the eyes that are watching you and that people are they may not say anything to you, but they are impressed and blessed by what you're doing. Do what responsibility do you feel for younger players that are watching you or for other players period that are watching you and those that are coming behind you? What responsibility do you feel towards them?
This person, I wouldn't say I feel obligated, but I feel like me, guys my age that hoop or used to hoop that were really good. I feel like it's our job, I guess you could say, to help these young kids out, man. Like just basketball wise, becoming a young man, responsibility as far as just life, period. Because basketball, like it's what we all enjoy doing, but at some point in time, it's gonna stop. So we have to be able to dictate and find something else to fill that void. Man, it's a lot going on right now as far as like gun violence and stuff like that. So we have to find a way to not necessarily keep the kids out the street, but we have to find a way to give them other options instead of being in the streets.
Absolutely. And not just picking up a ball, teaching them, like you said, to be a man, to take responsibility for themselves, to understand that they are much more than just a figure in the street or a person that, can be hard. They walk down the street and everybody's scared of them and craziness like that. They need to see young men such as yourself because someone else made a comment that when you get to a certain age, you have to just accept that your dream is over. And I don't believe that. I
Hold on,
believe
before you go any further on that topic right there, I've had, I'll say over the last, let's just say last 3 years, I've had so many people. Why do you still play basketball? Why do you still take it serious? Why do you? For one, because it's what I love to do. It's what I do. Like I can't speak for nobody else. I don't expect nobody else to understand. But when I have any type of game, whether it's a men's league game, a pro league game, open gym, like I'm going to play 100% because I want to win. It's what makes me feel good. So And then just keeping that mindset is what helped me get this Mexico exposure. People heard about me playing and, oh, you're good, this and that. We want you to come out to Mexico. I wouldn't have got that if I didn't take these games as serious as I do. So just for anybody that's doing anything in life, don't let nobody tell you, oh, you need to stop or it's not going to. Keep doing whatever you feel is necessary to do to help you live. Whatever makes your life happy, whatever makes you wake up in the morning and get going, do that. Because everybody's not going to see your dream until you make it happen.
Very good. That's exactly, yeah, I totally agree with that. And I'm glad you said that because I said this a couple Sundays ago when I was doing my ministry thing that, if you're still passionate about it, then it's not dead. If you still get excited when you think about it, then that dream isn't dead. You may have to change course and make some adjustments, but as long as you're still passionate about it, that dream is still alive in you and you should not give up on it. I don't care what anybody says. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Um, I don't see if anybody has any questions or anything, please make sure you put them in. Mutima definitely wants you to know that she's also a part of the Baby Akil fan club. So I don't understand. Me and Mutima want to know why you keep shaking your head every time I say something about Akil. We're not really happy about that.
No reason at all.
That boy right there. And he's another reason for you to keep going because he's going to be watching you. And what you do, when you feel like, okay, this is too much, I'm tired, I'm frustrated, you think about your baby boy. And that's another reason that keeps you going. And he's going to learn from you that you don't have to give up no matter what it is. And Mutima just says something very, very important. And in conjunction with what you said earlier, that the youth need to understand the importance of brotherhood off the court. Society can cause discord, unfortunately. Young men, especially black men, needed camaraderie. Like they need to know that they are something without a basketball in their hand and they are something without a gun in their hand. But for many of them in our communities, drawing them into basketball is how you guys can get them together to talk to them and to share and to pour into them. Because there will be things that you will speak into them that you may think they're not even listening or paying attention. But way down the road somewhere, you might run into one of them. They'll say, you told me such and such a thing. And you may not even remember saying it, but young people are like sponges and they're soaking in what they see and what they hear. And so that's why it's important for you guys to be examples for them. All right. We got a couple more minutes. Is there anything else that you wanted to make sure to share with us today, Trevante?
No, not really. I just wanted to touch on the fact that whatever dream anybody got, any goal, just do it. No matter how long it take, no matter what road you got to take, some things, anything that's worth it, it's going to be hard. So whatever you got to do to make your dream happen, just keep going.
And good morning. Good morning. I see a couple more people coming in saying hello to you, Trey. One of your cousins, Timothy Palmer. I don't even know if you may know him if you see him. He's a pastor in Salisbury, but he says they're saying good morning to you. Also, before we close out this conversation, I want to say that publicly say that I am very proud of you. And I've walked with you through this journey and been there times when you cried from childhood, when you got hurt um, and couldn't play ball. I've seen all of that. I've rejoiced with you. I've jumped and cried. I'm not doing a whole lot of jumping these days, but I've been excited with you. And I just want to publicly let you know I'm very proud of you. And as you said, as long as you are breathing, continue to pursue your dream.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And I'm very proud of you. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us and for listening in. Thank you to those of you who will be watching the video later on. I really appreciate you joining in. And I'm excited that Tre joined me this morning because I have literally been trying to get Tre to come on this show. But he's, Mr. Superstar. He's too busy for his mom. So I think next time I might have to bring baby Akil on as my baby. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Mutima says all the best to you, Tre.
Thank you.
And one of my other friends, Ms. Burke, says this is a blessing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. And we will be talking to you again soon. Let's Talk Destiny. We'll be back this evening at 7 o'clock with a young lady. We will be talking about when the child becomes the parent and taking care of a parent with dementia or any other health issue, and you have to start parenting them. So we'll be talking at 7 o'clock tonight. So again, thank you all for joining us and keep us in prayer. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you later. All right. Thanks for joining us, Tre.
No problem.
All right. Bye-bye.